I'm Jason Paris, Director of Chiefs Theater at Cherokee High School, and welcome to the Graceful Arts Theater Arts exhibit for January 2017. We've created this video to supplement the exhibit, so if you're at Graceful Arts, watching on your device, please feel free to wander around. Just, don't knock anything over. Now, what you're watching are clips from some of Cherokee High School's most recent productions, and you'll notice as you explore the space that you're actually walking through some of these set pieces, costumes, and props. And where indicated, I hope you'll pause, read a little about our specific design choices, and even pick up the props. After all, the reason they're called props, short for properties, is because during the Renaissance, acting companies functioned by sharing resources. Actors typically owned their own costumes, but special items like swords or even more popular in Elizabethan drama, severed heads, belonged or were the property of the entire acting troupe. Thus, the props belonged to everyone. Just put them back where you found them. The thing I find particularly exciting about my job is that the art of theater is really an amalgamation of all the arts. So for someone like me who enjoys working in multiple art forms and media, it's the best of all worlds. As a high school theater director, I get to be a sculptor, a painter, an architect, a musician, a sound engineer, a lighting designer. I get to create costumes and makeup designs. Basically, I get to play. Which, come to think of it, might be why play is another word for drama. Drama is a literary form, like novels or short stories. But unlike the novel, for example, dramas aren't meant to be read, they're meant to be seen. So the visual component of theater is as important to the storytelling as the script itself. And that's what this exhibit is all about. So, if we're talking about the visual components of theater, that really comes down to 5 things. Scene design and construction, lighting design, costume design and construction, hair and makeup, and prop design and construction. And when you combine the visual arts with the performing arts, you get theater. Formal theater began with the Greeks. Perhaps the most famous visual element they gave us was the mask, beginning with classic drama masks representing tragedy and comedy. Productions still use masks today. Here are 2 examples. You can find more examples of theatrical masks at the exhibit from our production of A Christmas Carol. Now, when I think about production design, I tend to focus on thematic harmony and visual symbolism. Harmony here refers to the unity of all the theatrical elements. The lights should work with the costumes, which work with the set, which work with the acting, and all combine to create a unified work of art. Sometimes the design process begins with the color palette, which of course has to emerge organically from the play itself. Once established, it becomes a unifying force, so that visually every costume, prop, or set piece enhances the other. Sometimes, though, I begin with the architectural structures. I start with a sketch, which leads to more sketches, and ultimately the set itself. For Of Mice and Men, I wanted a set that was simple but visually arresting, and that featured a great deal of negative space, reflecting our take on the character of Lenny as what Taoists would call the uncarved block. For more on this, see the show notes in the playbills accompanying the exhibit. But the set also had to be imposing and functional. You know what? Let's take a look at some clips. We begin on a river at sunset. Notice the noises off, which in this case are a happy band of crickets. Lenny enters and drinks from, in this case, he drinks from a trough we built into the platform. We're watching a rehearsal video here, so there may not actually be water, but believe me, it took a minor miracle from a production point of view to have actual splashable water.
George? Yeah, Lenny? I'm shutting up, George.
Here's where having a functional set comes in. Transitions from one scene to the next can kill the momentum of a show. So, instead of blacking out, the cast simply assembles the set. This gives us quick insight into some of the characters and is way more interesting for the audience than sitting in the dark waiting for something to happen.
They're so cute.
Yeah, they are. I think I'll get one myself, but I don't know. Let's go see what I have to breathe.
Of course, getting around those curtains can be tricky. Here's another thing that is so simple but I love. Watch Avery Baggenstoss, who plays Lenny. There. When he hears the door hit, he's startled and turns around to see what happened. It's such a simple and beautiful moment that shows how we can use the set to provide insight into character. It's also an example of an actor being fully present in his environment. And finally, we arrive at the climax of the play. Note the skewed angle of the barn and how we've lit Avery rather harshly from the side. It's a good example of using the visual elements to provide symbolic information to the audience.
You gotta get killed. You ain't so little as mice. I didn't bounce you hard.
He's not only in a different location, but in a different mental state. If this were a painting, you would suspect that the story does not end well for this subject. Now, if you'll indulge one more example demonstrating how thoughtful audience members who pay attention to the visual elements can discern clues about the characters without having to hear the dialogue at all, let's take a look at our 2015 production of Tribes, a play about a young deaf man, Billy, played here again by Avery Baggenstoss. Billy's grown up in a hearing family who refused to allow him to explore the deaf community. He doesn't know sign language, so he's had to develop an uncanny ability to read lips and speak. Avery had this really great idea. To give Billy something to do during the family banter, Avery decided to work a Rubik's Cube. So in scene 1, when he's not deciphering his family's words, he's working on a different puzzle. Because that's what he's had to be growing up, a master at solving puzzles. It was a very clever way of showing his isolation before the audience is even aware of who these characters are. Note, too, his distance from the family table. Even without the dialogue, the visual elements, the scene design, the staging, the props, provide the audience with the subtext of the scene. Well, that's my spiel. I hope you've enjoyed this video supplement to the Graceful Arts Center's Theater Arts exhibit of 2017. Before you leave, you may notice the section featuring You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. If you'd like more insight into the design process of that show, click here or head on back to my website, www.pavementendsstudios.com, for another short video. And hey, while you're at it, check out our Chiefs Theater retrospective video for clips from more of our productions, many of which are featured in this exhibit. If that interests you, and it should, you can find it at Pavement End Studios, or you can just click here. This has been Jason Paris, Director of Chiefs Theater at Cherokee High School for Graceful Arts.